Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Anna Clements, and this is Audiobooks with Anna, where we explore the fascinating world of audiobooks with industry experts. Wanted to welcome everybody to the room. Thank you very much for joining us. We are chatting today for this hour with the delightful Marni Penning. Thank you very, very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Marnie, if it's all right with you, what I'd really like to do, because I feel like I don't know you very well, and having recently, I want to say stalked you, I apologize for that, investigated you online, I was absolutely fascinated by your career, your history, your story, and obviously your new book. So, would you mind indulging me and taking us back to the early days of Marnie? Who are you? How did all of this come about?
Well, I thank you again so much for having me. I started acting when I was 8 years old on stage. And I like to say my family will tell you I was acting long before that. We used to put on little plays with my cousins and my sisters in our living room and, grew up just with a very theatrical life. But when I got bitten by the acting bug, I started on stage at age 8 and never stopped. I did plays in elementary school. I started doing community theater, and I grew up in this really great children's theater that did plays for children by children that is still running in my hometown. And then I did stage managing with that. I got a theater degree in college. I toured with a Shakespeare company for 3 years. And then created the Cincinnati Shakespeare Company, what is now the Cincinnati Shakespeare Company, with a group of friends from college. Then I moved to New York for almost a decade, met my husband, and moved back to the DC area. So I've been doing mostly Shakespeare. I've done 54 productions of 23 of Shakespeare's plays in my career, and a lot of new stuff too, all over the country and in England and Scotland. And then I got into audiobooks.
I need to back up because I was searching desperately in my head for the you almost made yourself sound like a roving minstrel in the good sense of the word, kind of just traveling around and telling stories, and I love that idea. Did it feel like that at all?
It's always sort of felt like I love telling stories. I love bringing stories to life for people. I do miss like the immediate feedback of an audience, but I don't miss leaving my family for 6 weeks at a time to do it. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, that's fair enough. Can I ask, was there a particular performance when you were younger that kind of made you go, "Oh, this is the rest of my life now"? Was there a moment where you kind of just knew, or has it just been an ongoing feeling of the fact that you belong in this space?
I think when I was like 6 years old, I told my parents I wanted to be an actor. And they've always been very supportive of that. Like they've never said, "Oh no." It's always been, I think my mom did plays in high school, and my dad did community theater when I was younger. So it was never anything that was like risky necessarily. Um they just always were like, "Okay, yeah, that's what you want to do. All right, go for it."
Do you have siblings, if I may ask? And I mean, it almost feels like a kind of whereas I come from the very opposite. I was my parents were office people who didn't believe that the creative life was an actual thing, and I'm fascinated by the idea of living in a family where it was kind of almost not expected as such, but a given, perhaps.
Yeah, I have 3 younger sisters, and, all of them have done theater at different points in their lives, but, the one just below me lives in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and she is a high school French teacher, but also has her own company called Share My Journey. She's also an author. She's, like, done all these amazing creative things. The one just below her lives in Madison, Wisconsin, and she works for a space company as like an executive assistant. But she, I know, isn't that crazy? But she also worked with Cincinnati Shakespeare Company, which is where she met her husband. And then my youngest sister is in New York City, and she's a fantastic photographer, but also nannies and takes care of children. So we're all sort of artistic in our own ways, even if they didn't follow theater as a path.
Yes, yeah. So talk to us then about so the early years. I'm imagining you mentioned sort of traveling around the country doing Shakespeare. Did you have a were you a Shakespeare in the Park kind of girl? Did you do a lot of outdoor theatre? Because that's an effort and a half, isn't it?
Yes. Before microphones were a normal thing for roving Shakespeare troops, I was definitely doing lots of outdoor stuff, but it was a company that's now the American Shakespeare Center in Stanton, Virginia, but it was at the time called the Shenandoah Shakespeare Express. And we were a troupe of 12 who did Shakespeare's plays with doubling and tripling, quadrupling, and all that. Minimal lighting, minimal sets. And we would put everything in the back of a truck and take a van to a different city and then like go put up posters and it was very like bare bones but had some of the most amazing adventures with them. I got to perform in the Globe Museum Theater before the Globe was actually built, with Sam Wanamaker watching, which was really cool. I got to perform at the Edinburgh Fringe, and played Lady Mac at the Edinburgh Fringe, which was amazing and wonderful, and a just a very formative experience in my life. We went all the way up the West Coast in the summer of '92, and that was right after like all the like when Under the Bridge was written and like all the riots and stuff. It was a wild time, but I'm so grateful that I got a chance to travel all over doing what I love to do. And
That's
then
fantastic. Yeah,
yeah.
people talk about the Edinburgh Fringe being a very kind of not a turning point as such, but kind of a seminal moment in their careers as kind of it makes you recognize and realize why you're doing it and why you love it, which I
Yes.
always love hearing. Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic. Talk to us then about that shift, about meeting Andi Arndt.
So Andy and I met when I was 17, she was 18. We were college roommates. And so we have known each other for a very, very, very long time. And so I was in the theater doing onstage stuff. She was also doing onstage stuff, but more focusing on the arts management side of theater. And she is one of the, like, I'm one of the reasons why she got together with her husband because she had graduated early and was living with my parents in DC. And she was like, "Oh, if you see that cute history professor, tell him I said hi." And so I was in the building every day for a logic class, which was my favorite, and and said, "Oh, by the way, Andy Oster at the time says hi," and he was like, "Oh, oh," and then they got together, and the rest is history. But she and I, after I had had my son, he's now 12, so he was about 3 at the time. I was off stage for like 5 years because my husband has a day job and I had a night job, so it's hard to have a baby if you are not in the same place at the same time. So I took a year off stage to get pregnant, one to be pregnant, and then 3 years, I stayed home 3 years with my son so that he would know when I went back to work that I wasn't leaving forever. And during that time, Andy had just started getting more work than she could physically handle herself, but she knew all the right people to make it. So that's how she started Lyric Audiobooks and hired me as her first producer. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing at all, but okay, I'll go for it. And
Absolutely love that. So, did she talk you through then, like your the whole, the home studio and the having to, organize audio? That's a very different world from live theatre, isn't it?
very, very different. I had done a few books for the Library of Congress Books for the Blind program. I had done about a dozen books for them before I got pregnant. And so I knew how to be in a studio and I'd done voiceover stuff, but and how to do audiobooks, but only with a producer there, like an engineer there doing stuff for me. And Andy, as I had been producing, she's like, "You really should be doing this because you've got the acting chops and you know how to do it now." And I was like, "Yeah, but isn't it just famous people?" Like at the time, I still just thought it was famous people doing audiobooks. And she's like, "No." So so I went down to Harrisonburg and watched her, and she walked me through a day in her life as an audiobook narrator, And whereas 10 years prior, I was helping her set up her microphone because I had been doing voiceover stuff. Now, at this time, she was like, okay, now here's what you do for audiobooks. And the student has become the master and all that. So,
That's wonderful. So did you begin then, I assume, in romance, having gone in through lyric audio? Is that your preferred genre? I apologize for knowing so little about you, Marnie.
no, that's okay. And actually, I didn't start in romance, although my first Audible credit is from a romance that Andy tricked me into.
I'm sorry.
There
I
was
need to
like
hear that story.
so she knew I was nervous about, starting in audiobooks independently. And there was a book that she had done where it was co-narrated by a man and a woman. And there was one chapter that had been left out because it was a man's name for a woman character. And the female narrator had missed it. The male narrator knew it wasn't him, and so, but the female narrator had undergone surgery and couldn't get to the chapter in time. So Andy said to me, "Can you get this chapter to me? We need to have it by like, tomorrow or something like that." And nobody had caught it. And so that's how I got my first Audible credit. But then I started with ACX and did mystery thrillers, and I do have a fair amount of romance. About 100 titles of my 340 or so are in romance, and I do love it, but also mystery thriller and sci-fi fantasy.
Wonderful. Talk us through your audiobook career then. How have you found, well, the industry has shifted so much just in the time I've been here. How
Yeah.
have you found how things have changed and how has it changed for you?
I think I got in at a really great time. I started my first title was in 2018. So then I went to APAC in 2019 and just hit the ground running. It was a few years before I gave up producing altogether because my schedule was too full and things were starting to fall through the cracks and I was driving myself nuts. So I now am just a full-time narrator. But how it's changed since then, obviously, since the pandemic, things have completely shifted. But I think when I got in and when I started to meet people was it was sort of I came into it like I'm Andy's friend. I'm here to like hold on to her elbow and absorb everything that I can. So I met a lot of really cool people, and then they got to know me not as a producer but as an actual narrator as well. So that
Wonderful.
that shifted, yeah, a
Yeah.
lot.
No, we're at quarter past already of the hour. Just to let everybody know in the audience, we're chatting here today with Marnie Penning, award-winning narrator and actress, about her new book and about her life at the moment. So I've pinned her website to the top of the page. If anybody wants to pull to refresh, as they say, it's up there for you to go and check her out while we're chatting. Marnie, talk to me then about COVID. So COVID hit. A lot of people find that this period kind of becomes a conversation in and of itself. We all kind of hunkered down and found ourselves at home working very happily because that's what we do. Did you find that work shifted at all for you?
I What's really interesting was just before COVID, like in 2019, after I'd gone to APAC, I was evangelizing audiobooks to all my theater friends in DC. Like, you've got to get into this. This is so exciting. It's so much fun. And quickly found out that not a lot of people like to be shut into a padded cell and talk to themselves for hours on end. So the people that I told, I'm like, you have to get into this. They were like, yeah, yeah, no, I think I'll just keep doing stage work. And then COVID hit. And I felt really guilty actually for a while that I had work when, yeah, I know they don't totally assess. Um, but yeah, no, I had work coming out of my ears, and my theater friends who couldn't, were off stage this whole time. I was like, you sure you don't want to come over to this side? We have cookies, you know? Um, so I really, because I already had my studio, even though it was, a closet that was in my house at the time, I was available for work and I was able to build up a lot of good samples by that point. Um, just by being available at a time when a lot of people weren't.
Absolutely. Talk to us a minute, if you would, about that transfer across from theatre to audio. Did you find, I mean, you mentioned that you've been into studio before you became an independent narrator. Did you find that shift from, make sure the people at the back can hear you to just speaking to the microphone? Did you find that an interesting transfer?
I think because I'd done voiceover stuff before when I lived in New York, that it wasn't as big of a hurdle. But I definitely was when I started doing audiobooks full time. I was a little bigger than I needed to be, and I think that's why I always have to wear my headphones when I record. So I make sure that I'm not blowing out the back row, so to speak. Um, so yeah, it was a little bit of a shift initially, but not as hard as it would have been, I think, for people who hadn't done any voiceover at all.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. We talk here often about, headphones on or headphones off, and I had forgotten that initially. So I came in through theatre too, and I think that having your own voice in your head quite so specifically volume wise really does help you be conscious of where you're positioning your voice and how it's coming across. That's so interesting. Talk to us then about what you're up to at the moment, audiobook wise, before we move on to your book.
I just finished my first couple of books for Penguin Random House. So for anybody listening who's like, "Oh, I'll never get in with PRH," just know that I started in 2018. Thank you. I started in 2018 and just finally got my first books for Penguin Random House. That was really exciting. I did a Crispo Jallian Civil War love story called The Jackal's Mistress, and it just came out. It's very exciting. And I have my romance pseudonym, and Susie is here. She handles all my social media for my romance pseudonym. Is very active. She's got a monster right now. She's doing a she's dating the dealing demon. I think is what it's called. A monster romance, and then I'm prepping a book called Murder Without a Duck about a small town called Simpato, but like Sinpato is without a duck in Spanish, which know. So the town is Simpato. So it's murder without a duck, and it's a cozy murder set in a small town called Simpato.
Fantastic. Fantastic. May I ask, please don't feel the need to tell us the name, but how have you found working with a pseudonym with regards to kind of, again, we talk here a lot about whether or not people should bother, what it actually means to you, how you maintain its presence on social media, particularly if you want to keep it separate from your own entity, as it were, online. Have you found using one has helped? Has it been easy? Have you enjoyed it?
I love my pseudonym, and I actually cosplay her at conventions. I grew up very sheltered, so but I had like an erotica collection ever since I moved out of the house, and love telling love stories, but also like really get into the kind of conversations that I never had growing up. So there are very few things that I won't read. One is non-consensual stuff, and the other one is torture of children. But other than that, she's fair game. But because I mean, you can see in my picture, my hair is white, and I started getting, gray hair when I was 24. So when people think of like 20-year-old heroines or 30-year-old heroines, even though as they said at the at APAC, it's all about the voice, right? I don't want people to look at me and think that my heroines can't hold a romance story. So I cosplay her at conventions and I have the best time. It's like she's my happy fun time girl that can do all the things that the Marnie side of me is like. you know?
I absolutely love that. I always say that my pseudonym has a much more exciting life than I do,
Yes.
which I just love the idea of. It's so it is very cool, isn't it? Lovely. We move on to oh, the book. So Marnie, you produced a book. Oh my
Good.
God. Tell us everything.
I am so excited. I can't tell you. I'm holding it like right now. It's like the cover is so shiny and it's so pretty. I am so excited about this book. It's for anybody who doesn't know about it yet, it's called The Penning Method for the Panicked Actor. And in 2022, when we were all like still sort of in lockdown, but not really because there were vaccines and stuff, but we were still being cautious. I was like, you know what? I need some rah rah in my life. And so I signed up for a I signed up for a Tony Robbins 3-day course. And I was like, you know what? I just need some like rah rah rah. Thanks, Meg. She said, so proud of you for writing a book. So I went to this Tony Robbins thing, but Dean Graziosi, who's his partner, is the one who really runs those things, if you've ever been to one. And he said to the audience, what is something you know that nobody else knows that would make somebody else's life better if they knew about it? And I thought about this audition that I had done in New York in 2000 when I had just gotten there, and it was this crazy audition piece. And the director had handed it to me, and you've read the book, so you know this is in there, and said, look that over and we'll see you in 5 minutes. And it was like this wild imagery and like all this repetition. And how was I going to put this together in 5 minutes? And so I used Shakespearean notation and stuff that I had been working with my students. I've been coaching since like 1994, and I put it all together in 5 minutes, and I got the job. And I was like, you know what? Someday I'm going to write a book about that. And that's what I ended up putting together. At first, it was a class. I did it out in LA with Jennifer Jill Arraya, and also in New York. We had done this. She has a Starving Artist No More, and I have the Penning Method with the Panicked Actor. So it was Starving and Panicked No More. So we taught this in person. And I was like, why don't I just take my notes from this and turned it into a book so more people can have access to it? And that's how it got made.
Fantastic. Talk us through the practicalities, Marnie, because you say, you took your notes from the class, but I appreciate that having attempted it, and it's an ongoing project. It's not just that. So talk us through the fine print of what software did you use? How did you decide where to produce it, and how did you go about it?
That's an awesome question. I had a double degree in theater and graphic design. And when I was in college, I was also like the editor, not the editor of the text, but the graphic editor for the student magazine. And I was an ad design manager for the student paper. I have all of this knowledge of marketing, and I was a marketing director for 6 years for what is now the Cincinnati Shakespeare Company. And I put all of my own social media stuff for myself together. So I took my knowledge from that, took all my notes, and put them into. At first, I tried to do it with Scrivener, and then I tried to do it with Vellum, and both of them didn't give me the kind of um, leeway that I wanted to make it my own. So I took all of the slides from my presentation and turned them into graphic headers. And then I put all of that. I did some research on Readsy, which is a great website for authors, and some other research on kindlepreneur.com, which is wonderful, and figured out what I should put as the margins for my book and what would be the optimal size for this kind of book, and what I should do for typesetting size, and where should it's not very interesting technical things, but did all that research and then put it into a Word doc and hyper focused over 3 days to make it look the way I wanted it to look, and turned that into a PDF. And because I'd worked with so many independent authors through lyric audiobooks, and because I know so many authors who are narrators as well, who self published, I was like, I don't want to wait for someone to give me permission to publish this. I know a lot of people who would need this right now. So I'm just going to do it myself. So I put it on Amazon, but I also put it on Ingram Spark, and made it so that I controlled the way that each of them looked. I controlled the way that the cover looked and the insides, and I didn't have to hire another person because I had all that knowledge already. I got my own ISBNs, I paid for the barcodes and was able to get in touch with people who needed it, who spread the word and spread the word.
Fantastic. I'm so grateful to you to have gone through that kind of process, because I often mention that I feel like when we understand what authors go through to get their books out, it kind of gives
Mhm.
you a much more patient and calming feeling when they come to you going, "Oh God, and now I have to find out about audiobooks."
Yeah.
And so I always say it's the onus is on us to be the professional, to be the kind of guiding light that goes, "You've done all the hard work, now let me do all the hard work." You know,
Yeah.
and I feel like the way you've listed it there, it did sound like a nightmare. And it and I think you, I mean, you were lucky that you had your graphic design background, but
Yeah.
regardless, there is so much software and technology and buttons to press and things that could have gone wrong. And I'm
Yes.
holding it in my hand too, and it has come out beautifully. It really is
Thank
a
you.
lovely little book, and it feels good in your hand. You know, it's just the right size. The typeface is the right, you know, the right size. It's great. It really is. I highly recommend anybody you know,
Thank you.
who thinks it would be useful, that they should pick it up. And I have a burning question, because I've been on your
Yes.
website. But before I move on to that, I need to back up to, you said, I've been coaching. Obviously, I've been coaching since 1994. You skipped right over that. Give us more.
Yeah, so when I co-founded Cincinnati Shakes, that it was 1994, and there were people who were bringing their children to me to coach them on their audition pieces for getting into college. And so I would meet up with these high school kids and go over their monologues with them and tweak and help them. And my proudest ones got into like Point Park and all the all these other CCM, all the other places that they wanted to go. And I was like, you know what? I really hate directing. I don't like being in charge. I like helping. And so helping people to hone their pieces so that they felt better about them and they got what they wanted out of it, just to help them feel better about going into the room and doing their best work, has been a big part of why I love coaching. And I haven't like hung out a shingle or anything like that. It's mostly people that come to me and say, "Hey, I know you're good at this. Can you help me get better at this other thing?" And I'm always, almost always, able to help them feel better. So that makes me feel great.
Has your coaching very naturally transferred across from live theatre monologues to audiobook narration?
Yes, absolutely. And I think because when I was when I was in 4th grade, I was introduced to Shakespeare by my fabulous 4th grade teacher, who today would have been her birthday, but she has since passed. She got us doing Julius Caesar in the 4th grade because we are near the Folger Theater, and they have an elementary Shakespeare festival every year. But I was absent for the day of auditions, and I was distraught, and she's like, "It's okay. You can be the stage manager, and you'll be the, universal understudy." And so I learned every single part in Julius Caesar when I was 8 years old. Um, and that got me into playing all the characters and coming up with voices for different people, and so that really got me into what I would need to have to be a solid audiobook narrator. And so that it's just changed my coaching in just enough ways so that I can help people who are at the mic as opposed to on stage, but I still do both.
Yeah, fantastic. And if people wanted to reach out to you to get have a session with you, is that information on your website?
Yes, there is a form on my website to contact me, and feel free to pop your information in there and I'll get back to you.
Fantastic. I must just read you some of the comments from the chat. And for those who can't see and are just listening in, Susie says, 8 years old, Julius, you're so cool. You've got a lovely comment from Dana that she was just admiring your Instagram page and that your graphics are absolutely incredible. Though
Thank
she
you.
loves the way you use pictures of yourself to highlight your news. That's super clever. And my favorite is that Rich Palmer says he's recently completed 3 auditions using the method since he finished your book this week.
Oh,
So
wonderful, Rich. I'm so glad.
isn't that lovely? You're actually having a real effect on people you don't even know, which is,
Yay.
ultimately the goal, isn't it? That's fantastic.
You.
And so, what I wanted to back up to, speaking of the book again, I'm pretty sure I covered every. If I didn't mention what you wrote in the chat, do please raise your hand and come up and see us, or write it again, and I'll make sure to say it out loud. Is that on your website? I think it was. I saw it. You're currently thinking of a second book.
Yes, I actually so this book leapfrogged that one because I have ADHD and I didn't find that out until I turned 50. So you can imagine what kind of impact that had on me. Like, oh my gosh, that's why I do all these things that I do. And at the time, since I'm also the oldest of 4 daughters, I had been telling my sisters about what was happening during perimenopause, leading up to menopause. And I was finding that it was exacerbating my ADHD and finding out through another podcast that perimenopause actually mimics ADHD in people that don't have it. So all of this together, and the fact that we don't talk about perimenopause and menopause as much as a culture, it's starting to get a little bit better. But I was like, I am going to write a book about perimenopause and ADHD and what led me to my ADHD diagnosis through perimenopause, and call it Nobody Told Me. So it would be like all these things that I grew up thinking were just quirks about myself, that ended up being part of my ADHD that I never knew existed. Preach on that perimenopause, Charity says. Yes, yes. I mean, I actually have another TikTok aside from my Marnie one that is called Perimenopause, PAWS, where I talk to dogs about women's health because sometimes it's easier to talk to a dog.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Wait, wait, wait. I have so many things to say, and I'm going to have to write them down because talk us through one of those. Talk us through that, please. The dog
Yes.
speaking.
So I was 44 when I first started having all these perimenopause stuff. And the only reason I knew what was happening to me was because my doctor had gone through it at 40. And I started talking to anyone who would listen about, like, yeah, Charity saying 47 dealing with ADHD, pardon that little hiccup there. And and so I was telling everybody who would listen about, like, what I was going through, and I'm like, I've never heard anything about that. I was like, well, this is ridiculous. And as Gen Xers, we are not good at being silent about stuff. So I started just telling everybody about what I was going through. And the my dog, I have a black lab. This is our third black lab. But at the time, my dog Baloo, I would just have videos with him, telling him about what I was going through in perimenopause. And people got to liking watching me talk to my dog about night sweats and hot flashes and brain fog and all this stuff. And I think it makes it a little more palatable for people who are looking for ways to talk about it that don't feel comfortable saying anything.
Yeah, absolutely. No, no. And you're right. The more we talk about it, the better. I was going to comment that I was at VO Atlanta this weekend, and there was a neurodivergent panel on being a voiceover with ADHD. And I was so thrilled to find a space where people were acknowledging and recognizing and I guess commiserating is the wrong word, but I was just so thrilled to be in a space where finally I was going, oh my goodness, yes, just
Yes.
to be able to say it out loud and not feel concerned or worried or strange or or that Yeah, it's a lot. I think I could have a whole nother day of conversation with you about that.
Yeah.
But yes, well, huge congratulations, and I'm
Thank you.
already excited about the next book.
Thank
I don't know
you.
if anybody in the audience has any questions they want to come up and ask us. It sounds like I feel like the two of us speak so fast. We've run through the hour in 40 minutes. But oh, Meg's saying she loved the neurodivergent panel at the Cincinnati retreat. That's something you could talk to us about. Did you
Yes,
coach? I apologize for not knowing, but I'm assuming you coached at the Cincinnati retreat, which is already sold out for this year
it
in
is.
August. Yeah, which is fantastic. Would you talk to that a minute for us?
Absolutely. And actually, Jennifer Jill Arraya and Gail Shallon and I are all accountability partners. And when I did my rah rah class with Tony Robbins, again, I started evangelizing on you should tell people about what you know, that they don't know. And that's one of the ways that Starving Artists No More was born, because Jennifer has all this amazing knowledge about running a business as a creative person, and both of her parents were or are small business accountants. So she keeps saying that her dinner table talk was like the merits of a C corp, or like what's deductible for us, where we would have like, what'd you do at school today? They would talk about that. So she's been helping people with stuff that she knows that others don't know. And then when we went to so I she asked me to be one of the teachers at the Cincinnati retreat, and it was an amazing panel. We found that in the full room of audiobook narrators and casting directors, that almost every single person either counted themselves as neurodivergent or had someone close to them who was neurodivergent. And we talked about how people who think outside the box are the ones who ultimately change the world. So it felt like we are in the right place. For as creatives, our minds think differently, and it's rare to find somebody who doesn't have that kind of touchstone to the neurodivergent community. And so you don't have to feel alone if you count yourself as someone who is neurodivergent.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. That's so true. And yes, yes, just yes. Dana has asked in the chat, it says, Marnie, how did you get the photos you use for your Instagram? Did you plan them out? And how did you get over the weirdness of making those poses to get the shots?
I'm a big ham for the camera. So I asked the last time I had headshots done, which was my hair's very short now. So a few years ago, I asked my headshot photographer, like, once we get a couple good, just regular poses, can we do a setup for my social media? And so we just went all out. And I think I have like 60 shots of me, and then me as my pseudonym, specifically for social media, in various poses of, oh, like gasp and look at this, and just taking sips of tea and having books that I had narrated out on the counter. And I don't find it weird because I'm a big old dork as far as like hamming for the camera is concerned.
On behalf of the people who do feel like absolute, strangeness, do you have any recommendations for kind of? I'm imagining that if you know the photographer, that might help. Like feeling at ease within that space is a great way to be able to kind of feel more free to allow yourself to do things you might not necessarily want to do. Do you have any ideas about how people who don't have that natural exuberance to find it?
Yes, actually, I think when I saw Kelsey Navarro Foster's social media, and they're all photos of her in her house, like looking up in the corner and smiling out a window and reading a book. And I think that was where my initial idea came from. So if you feel awkward doing it with doing these photos with a photographer you don't know, maybe find someone you're very comfortable with and have them just take pictures of you feeling good outside. And this is what Jennifer Jill Arraya does, outside in nature. Her husband takes pictures of her, or Kelsey. I'm imagining that probably James takes those photos of her, or she sets up a timer and takes pictures that way. on a day when you feel really good about how you look, just take a few pictures and of you like looking into the your right hand side of the of what would be a square and go from there.
Wonderful. Thank you. We're kind of, well, we're not running out of time, but we're running out of conversation for this particular hour. And we're being asked in the chat, Sana says, can you give me in short what the penning method is?
Yes, the penning method is a series of 10 markings for you to score your script so that if nerves are overtaking you, you have all of your choices written on your script so that you feel free to relax and play in your auditions. Gail Shalin talks about it as building your playground. When I'm an onstage actor, I always find it easier to play if I'm given a scaffolding in which to play. If they're like, "Do whatever you want," I freeze up. But if I'm given like a playground, an actual playground, I can create marvelous things. So it is text based. It is immediately yours. It's a way for you to stand out from the crowd and a way for you to relax.
Oh, absolutely love that. I'm also aware that oh, I've no idea what I was about to say.
I will say that
Sorry.
the no, that's okay. The subtitle for the book is The Anxious Actor's Guide to Easily Creating Memorable, Confident, and Specific Performances in Last Minute Auditions.
Sorry, I remembered what I was going to say now. We're always
Good.
told in these narration classes that the all the information is in the script, that the author gives you
Yes.
everything you need. And I think sometimes, particularly when you're new, you're like, where? What are you talking about? And actually what I bought the book and I went through it, and I think what I liked about it was that you break down sentence structure and emotional connection. And putting those two together are ultimately what we do throughout the audiobook, aren't they? So
Yeah.
it is. It's a great lot of well put together in a in a compact, very usable. And I also love the way you made it almost workbook style. There's space in it for you to make your own notes, and you encourage that. You say at the beginning, this is your book, write in it,
Yeah.
to be able to actually use the things that you're suggesting. And the I don't know if it's the ADHD in you that I read in the book and related to, but the fact that you've written, now put the book down and go do the thing, pause for a
Yeah.
minute and actually take a moment. And I was like, but I just want to skip right to the end. So yeah, it was really lovely, really well thought out, really well put together. And I
Thank
love the idea that it's a way for people to see into the writing, to see into the Shakespeare, to see into the narration and the audiobook stuff, which is lovely. So well done, you.
thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's really, especially if you're like, oh, I just don't. Even if you have a monologue or an audition that you've done like before, it encourages you to look at it today. How do you feel today? What do you want to emphasize today to set yourself apart from how everybody else is going to do it?
Lovely. Well, I'm glad you beautifully gave us a summary of the book without telling us what the book was, so we didn't have to bother going to buy it. So I recommend that everybody go buy it, because it really does. It's beautifully put together, and it does, for me, epitomize kind of the breakdown of what we're looking for in the text, and hopefully will encourage people also to then sign up and have another session with you about it and about audiobook work. I'm trying to read the chat at the same time. Andrea says, sounds like the workbook is advised rather than the audiobook. Oh, no. No, not at all, Andrea. Is it an audiobook, Marnie?
It is an audiobook and it's less than $3, I think, right now on Audible. It's like, yeah, like I know it's less than 5, but the audiobook itself is only 45 minutes, and all of the graphics that are necessary to get through the workbook are on my website. So on the top of there, one of the pages is panickedactor.com. You can go straight to the penning method for the panicked actor, and at the top, it says, click here for supplementary materials to the Penning Method audiobook. And so in the audiobook, I talk about go to the website and you can here use this, use that. Here's the what you need to know. But you get to hear me teach it to you. So it's a nice way to have me in your ears talking you through it.
Wonderful. And it sounds like it's the kind of thing with that, being able to download the PDF, PDF download being available with the audiobook. It sounds like it's actually up to people to decide whether they'd like to have the physical copy or listen to the audiobook, which is ultimately what audiobooks are all about, aren't they? About having the choice and making things more available.
Absolutely.
Rich is shouting "buy it" in the chat, and Rebecca has just bought it. So
Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you, Rich. You guys are wonderful.
is the book available through your website, Barney, or is it just through all the usual platforms?
Yes, it is available through my website. So at the bottom of every page, it has a link to buy it through Ingram Spark. You can also find it on Amazon. It is still the top new release in performing arts reference on Amazon, which I'm so proud of. The audiobook is only available on Audible for 3 months, but then it's going to be available across the board. But yeah, so
Wonderful. Thank you very much indeed. I don't know if Rich, if you're available, if you're not driving or with heavy machinery, if you have a moment to come up and share with your voice that you how much you enjoyed it. We've just had another sale.
oh,
Craig
thank
has
you,
just bought
Craig.
it. That's wonderful. So yeah, Rich, thank you very much for joining us up here. Talk us through how your feelings about the book.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I am not driving. I just parked, as a matter of fact, and the machinery is not quite so heavy. So, I had seen a preliminary to this book in Cincinnati's Thriving Artist Retreat last year, and tried to make the notes I needed, and they weren't enough. The book is enough. Um, Thank you for the pauses, Marnie. They
Oh,
gave
thank
my brain
you.
the opportunity to stop and say, okay, digest this. Don't keep moving ahead. It's okay. You can stop. But what I will tell you is that I did put three auditions together after finishing the book. I immediately put the book aside, found three that I had been contemplating doing that day, and I was able to truly prep these. I went in with a lot more confidence about my choices.
Oh, good.
Since then, I've also taken a few of the samples that I've been using on my profiles and my websites, and I've started to mark them up because I truly think, as you said, how I feel about that right now is probably not how I felt about it when I recorded it. And so
Yeah.
I'm reevaluating some of those as well. And it's just been such a smooth transition for me. It makes sense to me.
I'm so glad, Rich. Thank you so much. You're amazing.
That's wonderful. Thank you again for coming up, Rich. A couple more comments in the chat. Andrea, Deanna's talking about the book that Marnie is currently writing, which we're all desperate to have now, because it sounds far too much like our lives. Susie says, if she sees you at a signing, can she bring her copy for you to autograph, Marnie?
Absolutely, Susie. Anytime.
Lovely. And Judith says she's going to get it in a few because she's about to do a play and it sounds super helpful. So I'm glad to have been able to sell you several more copies. And with any luck, if we people listening to the replay will also be very excited about it. I think I need to apologize for recognizing your face from online, but not realizing what a big deal you were. And thank
Aw.
you for being a big deal and for sharing the love and for writing these books and for sharing your knowledge with us. And I think you're right. What you said about you need to be writing a book that is the something that you have. Can you repeat that bit for me because it was really meaningful and I don't want to make a mess of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, is there something that you know that nobody else knows that would make someone else's life better if they knew it? Then you should write that
That's
book.
fabulous. And you did, and you have, and you will,
Thank
and
you.
we're already ready for the second one. So good luck to you, Marnie. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we're all very excited already about the next book. So in between all your narration and all the stuff you're doing, I hope that wish you every success with that, and hope it goes really well for you.
Thank you so much for having me, Anna. This has been amazing.
Thank you. People are still going on in the chat about how lovely it's been, how they can't wait to read your book. Just another one's just been sold. So
Oh,
it's all very instant, very in the moment. So that's
yay. Thank
lovely,
you.
just lovely. Today we talked to Marnie Penning. My takeaways. a fascinating journey, a hugely entertaining chat. I'm so thrilled that I reached out and that you came. So thank you very, very much for joining us today. And thank you very much to everybody who joined in, those who came up, Rich, those who participated in the chat, those who are listening on the replay, and those who are in the audience listening in, because we couldn't do it without you. So do make sure to have a wonderful week, everybody, and let's go out and be our favourite selves. Thank you very much.